Do men really age like fine wine, or is this simply a sentiment to self-soothe men who struggled with women in their youth and now have nothing to show for it? I personally believe that as men, you peak when you're young. The same way with women, we say it's forever 21. The reality is, when you're a young man, it's when you're going to look your most attractive. But don't take my word for it. Today, I have a video which we're going to break down, and it's a debate between Richard Cooper and Mackin Murphy. Mackin Murphy is a scientist, and he studies human mating behavior. He studies actual data on sexual dynamics between men and women. And he has a lot of good talking points. And on the other end of the debate, we have Richard Cooper. Richard Cooper is a prominent red pill coach, old, single, divorced. He's known to be bitter and thinks women can't love you, you can't trust women, because he didn't know how to find a good woman. And he believes that men peak when they get older and that you can always find a woman no matter how old you are, and you can date women with a massive age gap and all the rest. But Mackin, on the other hand, believes no. It's the opposite. You should be doing it when you're young, which is where I stand. So we're going to look at the actual video. I'm going to play the whole thing at a 1.5 speed, and I'm going to make small incremental pauses and give you my full thoughts and a breakdown. And on a second note, I'm also going to share with you another clip from Mackin from his Twitter. It's a 38-second video, which also breaks down do men age like wine. So first and foremost, we're just going to play the YouTube video, then we'll get into that. With that said, let's get into it.
That you believe that men peak in their late 30s?
Yeah, I would say that there are a lot of guys that I know that have reached their sexual market peak, 37, 38, 39, 40. I mean, I know a guy that's 42. It's just, he's insane. Like, he's got really good genetics. He's loaded. He doesn't want to settle down. He's got lots of women in his life.
When do you think the average guy can expect to be peak maybe?
Well, I mean, like the average guy never peaks, for being honest. The average guy just kind of like sleepwalks through life in a lonely misery of very average women that don't really complement their life. Like, that is the average guy's life. It's not good.
But when do you think, what age do you think the average guy is going to have the most options? Because I think
if the average guy does the work on himself, chases excellence, becomes competent, is captivating, I know that you get this because you are a boxer and you've competed in an arena. I have a lot of respect for any man that will put his chin on the line and stare down another man in a fight, because I think that's an important skill and a rite of passage for a lot of guys. So I think guys should be doing stuff like this to build a foundation and build the bricks of what a man truly is, right? Like, I think that guys, if they do the work on themselves, mid-30s, late 30s is entirely plausible for you to be at your peak. Whereas with women.
So Richard Cooper believes as a man, your mid to late 30s is where a man peaks. I find that an interesting statement, and I do believe it's just a cope. You see, the average man in the West has a life expectancy of 76. If you slash that times 2, that's 38. Your middle age, 50% of your life that's complete, isn't 50. Middle age is actually your late 30s. 38, by definition, is literally old. And it is not optimal to start a family. That's just reality. And it's funny because these red pill coaches, they always want to say that, women peak when they're in their 20s. But when you look at real data, the same shows for men. Bottom line. And for those who don't know, Richard Cooper, his background is he got divorced. Basically, his wife cheated on him. He married the wrong woman, obviously. She had red flags and they didn't have the same values. They had a daughter together and she basically divorced him and took his stuff. So he goes on this online crusade that women can't love you and, you can't trust them. But the reality is he chose the wrong woman. He didn't vet properly. Due to knowledge gap or turning a blind eye to her red flags, he didn't vet the woman properly. And instead of owning up to that, he created this whole persona around women can't love you to make up for that cope. And Richard Cooper has tried to date over the years, but with that mindset and his values, he has nothing to show for it. He's still single and doesn't have anyone in his life. Funny how that works, but hey, that's just my 2 cents. Let's continue on.
And they can look very, very attractive. And, they're like 30s, even 40s. I mean, there's even 50-year-old women out there. They're very attractive, but they're not as hot as their 23-year-old self. And when you survey men, and I know that you've done the research on this, or you've at least read it, most, in fact, all men, when you survey them, on a balance of probabilities, will select about 22, 23 as the most beautiful women. If you show them 20 all the way to 70, generally speaking, it's early 20s, they tend to pick as the most beautiful. So men and women do have different timelines, is what I believe. But you don't think that's true? You think that men peak there?
So Richard Cooper believes as a man, your mid to late 30s is where a man peaks. 50% of your life that's complete isn't 50. Middle age is actually your late 30s. 38, by definition, is literally old. And it is not optimal to start a family. But when you look at real data, red pill coaches always say this, that women have different timelines. Let's see what Mackin has to say.
So for me, again, it's about looking at behavior, right? So I agree with you that for some men, especially if they're, career maxing, as an incel might say, maybe they do, maybe they do peak later. But here's just the cold reality of it. A lot of these guys in the red pill space, they're in their late 20s, they're in their early 30s, right? And they haven't really succeeded with women yet. And so they're telling themselves this story. I'm not saying you're doing this. You're obviously, at a different stage in life. But they're telling themselves this story. Oh, the best days are yet to come. The best days are yet to come. And it's like, mate, the best days already passed you by. If you look at when women peak in terms of you would say their sexual market value, I would say mate value.
And I think there's an element of truth to that. Most attractive men and women who are intelligent, they understand the importance of mate selection when they're young. They use their 20s to find someone. Once you go past your 30s, it gets drastically harder to date because the dating pool shrinks to, and it sounds rude, but you're getting leftover people coming out of long-term relationships that didn't work, or long-term marriages that didn't work, or serial fornicators that were sleeping around through their 20s. Or you have people who have, all sorts of personality disorders, which led to them to have an inability to keep someone long-term. And that's usually what you're getting. There's only really a tiny percentage of high self-esteem, virtuous men and women that truly are single past their 30s for the sake of being single. Because any single man or woman who's virtuous and understands the importance of marriage and family and finding love would have already taken action years back and would have already found someone. That is a tough pill to swallow. And these red pill coaches do believe, your best days are ahead of you. And it's just to cope. Everyone knows it gets harder the older you get. I'm not saying it's not impossible. You can find someone in your age range. But, you have to navigate the dating market carefully when you're an older man or woman because, people often have this notion that you're more mature when you're older, but it's not necessarily true. There's 30-year-old men and women that act like teenagers. And there's 18-year-old men and women that act like fully functioning adults full of wisdom. Because they've taken a different path in terms of values and learning and made different decisions. And yes, men do prize younger women. There's an element of truth to that. But it's like, do you think women want to be with a man who's way older than them? I don't believe that.
I would say that a variety of evidence converges on it being in their 20s. I'm not going off of what people say. It's just when do men compete most intensely over mates, right? And it's over that group of mates. It's women in their 20s, right? I'm not saying that this is how I want the world to be, right? I'm just saying from a cold, apathetic reading of the data, this is when female mate value or women's mate value seems to peak in our species. Who do these women select? These are the women with the most selective power. They can choose whoever they want to be with. Who do they select? They select other men in their 20s. Mm-hmm. When they're going on a dating app, most of them are filtering out men over 30. Let alone men in their late 30s, okay?
That's true, but they do get to a point at some point where they realize that a lot of these younger guys aren't doing it for them.
Yeah, most women in their 20s who are intelligent want men who are also in their 20s. It's just common sense. And immediately after Mackin says that, Richard Cooper butts in with a but. Let's see what he has to say.
And then they start to expand that reach. Maybe instead of 3 years older, it goes to 5 years older, maybe 7 years older, maybe 10 years older.
Yeah. But
it's not entirely uncommon for
let's
women in their 20s to date, older guys, right?
Yeah, no, older is normal. Older is older. But hey, cope aside, I'm talking about uncomfortable truths, right? Uncomfortable truth is that men also peak relatively young, right? In terms of when are men most physically attractive. And you talk a lot about genuine desire, right? A lot of the red pill guys talk about genuine desire. It's like genuine desire as a man, you're gonna be much more likely to get that when you're in your 20s, when you're actually as physically attractive as you get. So this is
I don't know, man. I've had genuine burning.
That is the reality. You are going to statistically be more attractive in your 20s, man or woman, than your 30s, 40s, or 50s. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have exceptional genes and you take good care of your health from a young age, no drugs, no alcohol, no smoking, reduce stress, you're around good people, right? You exercise, proper nutrition, proper rest, and you do take good care of yourself with what God gave you. Yes, you might age gracefully, definitely. But you are still going to age. I'm getting to be an older man now. I don't think I look as good as I did when I was younger. That's reality. Everyone's going to age, and that's life. And this is where the cope comes in from these red pill guys. And the average guy who's average looking, whether they take care of themselves or not, is going to look like crap when they age. The average woman that doesn't take care of herself, who's average in looks, is not going to look banging when they age. That's something also to factor in. So why do guys, well, they statistically will always say, oh, they like younger women because that's when they look the most beautiful. But women, what do they look at? What are the most attractive men when they're younger? If that's offensive to some, it can be. But truth is truth. Let's see what else he has to say. Let me go back there a few seconds.
Right. A lot of those Red Bull guys talk about genuine desire. It's like genuine desire as a man, you're going to be much more likely to get that when you're in your 20s, when you're actually as physically attractive as you get. So this is.
But when he said that men want that you're going to get more genuine desire when you're younger in your 20s, his face goes. Let's just look at that. Look how he reacts. He doesn't like it. It's offensive to him.
Genuine desire as a man, you're going to be much more likely to get that when you're in your 20s, when you're actually as physically attractive as you get. So this is.
I don't know, man. I've had.
I mean, do you think a 20-year-old woman at the peak of her beauty, who values finding love, is going to think, yep, I'm going to date Santa Claus over here without the hat on? No way. You'd have to be insane. I met my woman when she was 19 and I was 24. Yeah, 5-year age gap. Compatibility, she finds me attractive, I find her beautiful. I've given her my 20s, she's given me her 20s too. And it's like, I've asked her this question and she said to me herself, older men are disgusting. What smart woman, why would I do that? Why would I be with a guy in a 10-year age gap? It's disgusting. What 20-year-old woman would want to be with a guy who's 30 plus? There's got to be something really wrong with her, psychologically, emotionally. She's got to have some serious trauma, maybe daddy issues. That's not happening. It's not normal. Typically, women will choose a guy who are at least, when women say they want an older guy, it's usually slightly older, by a year, by 2, by 3, 5, maybe within that range. 6, but 10 years? Going on a decade age gap, that's way too much. You can't relate anymore. Women aren't choosing that. Only damaged women, or the women who are, unfortunately, women who don't have virtue and they're willing to use a guy instead of really love him, yeah, they'll have a transactional relationship. And that's the problem with guys like Richard Cooper. His face turns because he doesn't want to face the truth. Yeah, you can be 35, 34, you can be 40 plus and try and date a woman in their 20s, but you're just going to get gold diggers. The good women in their 20s want a guy who's in their 20s too, more or less, slightly older. But that's it. That's where the line is drawn. Let's continue.
I've had genuine burning desire, throughout my life many times. And it's,
I'm sure you have.
It's obvious, right?
We're talking
it's not
about
confusing.
We're talking about the average. Yeah, we're not talking about you. We're talking about the average guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I would completely agree that I was better looking, and money didn't I've said this before too. So maybe you can comment on this. Women have a lot more patience for a hot guy in his 20s that has a plan versus a guy that's 40 that might be good looking but has nothing to show for himself and still has a plan. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean,
and Richard Cooper is still looking at it through the lens of a 20-year-old woman. She can choose between the guy who's 25 and the guy who's 40. It's like that 20-year-old woman is going to choose the guy who's 25 as opposed to the guy who's 45. It's just common sense. There's no comparison. Everybody knows this intrinsically. You see a couple where the guy's twice the age of the woman, straight away. She's extracting, she's getting something out of him. It's a superficial relationship. There's no love there. You're meant to grow old together and bond through life. How can a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old grow together through life? By the time one of them hits 60, the other one's going to be 80 and he's going to be dead. It's like, you can't be compatible there. But again, do men age like fine wine? It's like, is this just a cope? Kind of seems like it. Let's see what else.
I mean,
women have the expectation that men do something of some significance with their life as they sort of move through it.
Yes, I agree with that. I guess I just want to really drill down on this point. A lot of Red Pill guys say, oh, men peak in their 30s, men peak in their late 30s, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you say this, but if you go on Fresh and Fit, they're like, yeah, it just keeps getting better and better for men throughout their 30s.
Yeah,
so it's like, all right,
if you do the work, but for most guys, no.
Yeah, it's like, let's go to the data, right? Women who are, 23, 24, 25, who can choose to date whoever they want. It's like, who do they choose to date? They choose to date men who are 25, 26, 27, right? Mm-hmm. 30 is pushing it. They'll do it. 30 is...
Exactly. They'll go for a few years older, but that's it.
pushing it. Let's say, even as you say, 10-year age gap, right? That was the biggest age gap that you mentioned in terms of dating app filters. That would be an uncommonly, just so you know, from a data perspective, most young women are not trying to date men 10 years older than them. Some will. I mean, I know some will, especially if, you know, a man brings a lot to the table. But for the most part, it's like, even 10 years, like that's 23 to 33, right? That's not 38, right? So this cope, this fantasy, this story that red pill guys who haven't succeeded with women the way they expect to, this story they keep chattering on to themselves, like, oh, the promised land is coming, you know, when I get older,
Yeah, I mean,
when I get older.
like,
And
you're
it's like, no,
absolutely
mate, I'm sorry, but like the truth
I
is that
fully agree with you, Matt.
the best looking young women,
Yeah.
the best looking young women are interested in the best looking young men.
Ooh, I love that. That is
Right? Women who are,
a very, very beautiful quote. Let's just play that again. Let me slow down the speed here.
I get older.
Yeah, I mean,
when I
like-
get older.
like,
and
you're
it's
absolutely
like, no,
right.
mate, I'm sorry, but like the truth
I
is that
fully agree with you, Mac.
the
And-
best-
He's agreeing passively to be polite, but he's not liking it because it's pointing the truth. Yes, Mac and Murphy is a younger man, attractive. He can definitely find a good woman when he's young. This guy missed his boat. His good days are behind him. This is why I always tell guys, don't waste your youth. You should be finding a woman in your 20s, ideally. If you can do it in your teens, 16, 17, 18, for my younger, even younger audience, even better. This whole modern trope that, hey, once you're 30 plus, your dating life's going to get better. It's just not. It's just not. Your best years are going to be behind you. And it's like, as a man, if a woman invests her youth, her 20s in you, and she really finds you attractive, she's probably chosen the right guy for her. Same thing for you. If you're investing your young years in a beautiful woman and you know she's got good values, you're probably making the right choice. Okay? Once people get to their 30s, they start panicking because it ain't getting easier and you're getting scraps. If that's offensive to some, I'm sorry. But do men age like fine wine? I don't think so. And I think Mackin's made a good point. But let's hear that beautiful quote one more time.
the best looking young women,
Yeah.
the best looking young women are interested in the best looking young men.
The best looking young women,
And this is
the best looking young women are interested in the best looking young men. That is the bottom line. So that's the debate. I think Mackin said it as it is. I fully agree with him. I align with his values there. And I'm not saying it's over for you if you're in your 30s, mid-30s, but it's like, find someone who's also in their 30s. Hello, that's what you should be going for. And no matter your age, you should still take care of your looks. And if you, man or woman, especially once you're in a relationship and you're married, you definitely want to take care of yourself. You want to look good for your lover, for your girlfriend, for your fiance, for your wife. You want to look attractive to them. Okay, you will definitely age better by taking good care of your health, but you're still going to age. Okay, so now that's the debate done. Let's look at his 38-second clip on Twitter, which is also very, very interesting with this topic. So he says, while men's attractiveness does decline less early and less precipitously than women's, it does not increase with age. Men age like wine is a self-soothing sentiment for men who struggled with women in their youth. So now let's play the clip.
Yeah, like it's not true. I'm
not.
sorry. A great example of this is Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, yes, Leonardo DiCaprio at his current age is handsomer than me. But when he was my age, he was way handsomer than he is
Yeah,
now.
right,
So this
right.
whole like delusion that men keep feeding themselves.
Oh,
men
yeah,
age like
yeah.
wine. I've looked at the research here. Who's most physically attractive to a 25-year-old woman? It's like a 26-year-old man. Women are most physically attracted to men who are slightly older than themselves.
And there you have it. I mean, just look at the data. 20-year-old woman, probably going to choose a guy within that range. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Once they start going past like 26, it starts to drop off. So ideally, a woman will choose a man who's slightly older because subconsciously they associate the older factor with he's a leader. I can look up to him. He's a man I can submit to. I can follow his lead. Right? And men, when men say they want a younger woman, you want a woman who's slightly younger because what is it associated with subconsciously? She's more submissive. She's going to follow you. She's going to respect you. She's right. That's usually where the subconscious playing comes from. A lot of couples, usually they're the same age, they're high school sweethearts, and that works well as well. When women are older than the man, the dynamics usually flip. It's very rare to see that work out properly. And yeah, if you ask most normal women, feminine women, they wouldn't really go for a guy that's younger. I've asked this question to my woman, and she said the same thing. She said, look, I would always see younger guys as little brothers or boys. The same thing, she said, an older man who's 30 plus is like a father. It's disgusting. It's like you're too old. But within that range of you're a few years older than me, okay, you're old enough, and you're also attractive, you're young, you're handsome, you know. So yeah, that's the balance you want to be looking for here.
Slightly older than themselves. And that only extends until like 40-ish. And then the trend actually starts to reverse. That's when women start thinking that younger men are actually sexier. And that gap becomes wider as they get older.
So, I mean, there you have it. It's like a lot of guys want to say that like, the looks don't matter, but the science doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie. I mean, let's just look at the comments in his video. See what people are actually saying. I actually left a comment too, because I did watch the clip earlier. Very, very nice. Wanting an older man for his money is not the same as genuine desire. Exactly. The average guy never picks, but also men age like fine wine. Which is it? It's just a cope from these Red Bull guys. As someone who was bothered by 40-year-old something men on dating apps in my 20s, I can confirm most 20-something-year-old women do not want old men as romantic partners. I'd love for Red Bull guys to stop telling divorced 40-year-old men that they can and should be carrying on with young women who would rather be dating their sons. Miranda Whitaker. Men don't want to hear what women had to hear for centuries. You are the most attractive when you're young, and that is a very short period of time. Money or status will attract someone, but for the wrong reasons. Why is it so problematic to look for people of the same age? Someone who is also well preserved and will be a good partner. Exactly. Because any intelligent man or woman, what do you want? You want to be with someone you find beautiful, really attractive, who you also get along with. That's it. Chemistry and compatibility. Mutual desire, shared values. Those are the ingredients to make a connection work. So why do these Red Bull coaches lie to their audience and tell them, yeah, bro, when you're 30 plus, just go for the 20-year-olds. The only 20-year-olds you're going to get as a 30 plus year old man are the gold diggers, are the bottom of the barrel, are women you do not want to commit to because they'll take from you. You should be finding women when you're young. And if you're 30 plus and your best years are behind you, humble yourself and choose a woman in your age range. And if you're the average guy and you're like, yeah, but I'm the average guy and I never got attention from women. If you're the average guy in looks, then find a woman who matches with your looks. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but that's reality. Guys don't want to hear it, but it's true. Look, let me just show you here. Do women care about looks? This is from my relationship community. There was a post on this that I made and 14 guys voted for yes. And I shared some posts from these were from my YouTube videos. A woman left. Great info. I settled in my last 12-year relationship. I was not attracted to him. I said, why did you settle? And she said, I settled because he made me feel loved, but then we broke up because I was not happy, but now I miss him. I was turned off by him sexually, but loved him as a person. Again, looks matter. If you don't find you attractive to begin with, this doesn't matter, guys. What you're saying is true. I knew this girl who told me this guy was trying to date her by buying her expensive meals and by giving her money, but she said she preferred a different guy who was less rich and bought her KFC. It just proves that hypergamy isn't all that. Yeah, women just want a guy they find attractive. Another one. I've met women who were attracted to me and I was barely making 35k a year, driving an old car and not having a fancy job title. You are correct about attraction not being negotiated. When a woman genuinely likes you, it's obvious. Bingo. And another one. From a woman, looks definitely matter. When I have little kids, I want to look at them and smile and not hold back in caring for them because they remind me of their dad physically. And it's also why I do my best to take care of myself. Like attracts like. It's like, I could go on and on and on, but if you're offended by this, take a cold hard look in the mirror. Date women in your looks range. Take care of your looks 100%. But this idea that you're going to get better as you age is a cope. And it is dangerous because it's convincing young men and young women to waste away their peak years. There's a reason why in the military, they choose men aged 18 to 25. Athletes retire typically in their late 20s, early 30s, because then they become old by athletic standards. We know when women get to be 30, like 80% of their eggs are gone. When men start to get into their mid-30s, most of their sperm begins to become defective. Look at the average person past the age of 30. They look terrible nowadays. They have bad nutrition, bad health. It's like, sure, you can take care of yourself, but biologically, you're still old. You're still going to age. The average guy lives to 76 in the West. 38 is middle-aged. Middle age isn't 50. It's not 60. It's 38. And some of you can say, yeah, I had a granddad who lived till his 90s. Or a grandma who lived till 100. Fine. But it doesn't change the fact that in terms of mating and optimizing your dating life, you should be finding someone when you're young. And if you're past your early to mid-20s and you're getting old, you should have urgency. Double time. That's reality. I think Mackinus was completely right in this video. Men don't age like fine wine. Your optimal years are when you're young. And the best looking women want to be with the best looking men. Take care of your appearance when you're young, the best you can, and use what God gave you. Go out there and find yourself a good woman. Those are my 2 cents on it. And if you'd like to know more about what I do, I'll leave a link down below to my relationship community where I host a monthly group calls. I have different courses where you can access and learn different things that I teach. And of course, in the community, you can make posts, share different things that you're going through. And yeah, with that said, I hope to see you in. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And share this video with someone, perhaps who's brainwashed by the Red Pill community or thinks that he needs to wait till he's 30 to start dating. And with that said, I'll see you all in the next one.